Hello? I can't hear you.
Hello, how are you?
I'm all right. How are you?
Good. I think we're teacherless right now.
I feel so abandoned.
I know. What's new with you? Are you doing okay?
Mm. Well, I'm officially divorced.
I don't know, do I say congratulations or what's the word? I don't know what the right word is. I guess I'm supposed
I
to say
know it is weird because my one of my best friends, she's like, "Well, I don't know what to say." And I'm like, "I know, right?" Like, in one sense, it's the end of a lot of struggle, and the other, it's also the end of a marriage. But anyway, it is done, and he's actually been here working on stuff and he's been okay, which is kind of nice because there's no need to hate. And I saved his ass. So I won't get a thank you, but that's all right.
well, yeah. Anyway,
So
hi
hopefully
Holly.
he'll show up here anytime and finish what he started, which would be a first. He has to fix up a couple of things in order for the bank to approve his loan. It's
Do you
kind of
feel safe? That's all I care about.
um yes, because in the divorce decree I did get to keep the peace clause added, and so if he pulls a stunt, that gives the sheriff permission to act without me having to be appropriately injured. It's a different standard. So it was a strategy I worked out with the sheriff, and it's he's behaving, and
Good.
he
I'm glad that
wants to
worked
keep
out.
the house. So
I'm glad that
anyway,
worked out. Sorry, Holly. We didn't mean to ignore you. We're just catching up. She had real life stuff going on that wanted to catch up on.
so
Yes,
you
and
already know Holly?
the
Hi,
link wasn't
Holly.
working for me, so that was my real life stuff. Yeah, so that's why I'm a little late. Yeah, so
So Holly,
I'm
I
gonna,
haven't met
Cheryl and I
you.
are switching.
Okay.
Right, yeah. So
She
I'm
had
gonna
mentioned your
switch.
name when I talked to her last time, so I knew you were to coaching teaching today.
Oh, okay, yeah. She is gonna mentor you all on Wednesday, and then I'll be teaching you for the next few classes when Cheryl's not in doing the mentoring. So
Okay.
I'm Holly. I actually should change my name. I just recently got married, but I also have been through a horrible divorce. So both sides of the
Welcome.
fence.
Me too.
Yeah. And I just moved to another state with my new husband for a while until we can move back to South Carolina, where I'm from. And I've been coaching for quite a while now. And I'm working on getting my mentor coaching assessment and all of that stuff in order. So I've been working with Cheryl for a really long time. I love Cheryl. I've actually been working with Lori just as long, I should say that. I love Lori as well. So I'm glad you guys are in our class. I'm pretty open, like any questions that you guys have, please, personal or about coaching, please feel free to ask me. Don't shy away. Um, but I'd love to know just a little bit about you guys because I think both of you, or Allison, you're a coach, and Bonnie, you are a therapist,
Mhm. I
or
just
have I
finished
mixed
like
it?
2 minutes ago. So
Oh, yeah. To unload all the stuff you couldn't say while the clients were
ugh,
talking. Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, for sure. Well, Allison, where do you live?
So I'm in Southern California in Long Beach. Moved in with my partner with him earlier this year.
Nice.
We're trying to buy a house. Spent 30 years in the tech industry, left in 2016. Started consulting while I went to coaching school.
Awesome.
And then used Cheryl for my ACC, and so using her,
Mhm.
I'm should have enough hours by the end of the year for my PCC, and so I
Nice.
ed credits. So I thought, well, I work with a lot of performance stars with interpersonal skill challenges, so the emotional
Mm,
intelligence piece would be a nice adder to that.
yeah.
I coach primarily in the tech industry. Companies hire
Mhm.
me to develop future leaders, or leaders hire me as their executive coach, but primarily in the tech industry. I kind of consider myself more of a life and communications coach. are probably the areas
Mhm.
I focus on, but they don't realize they're getting life coaching when they come to me. They think they're getting leadership coaching, but
Right.
little do they know.
Yeah.
Little do they
Yes.
know that a lot of it is really more mindset than skill set than, but that, I don't, if I marketed it that way, I wouldn't have any clients, right? So
Right. Yeah,
yeah.
that's a really true fact.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like when I say, when I figure something out, it's like someone asked me, do you market like your intuition and your empath? And I'm like, no, I deal with engineers. They just think it's magical that I figure things out.
Right. We'll just keep letting them pay for the magic.
Yeah.
How did you know that? Oh, well, because it came in like a bloody neon sign in my head because
I paid a lot of money to learn this stuff. That's why.
no, I did not.
Yeah.
I didn't pay a lot of money to learn it. I live it.
No, that's what I would tell them.
Yeah. Yep.
Mhm.
It's like,
Yeah.
well, that's what's funny because we're working on some new marketing stuff and trying to put like those unique qualifiers in that make me different, right? I'm a near-death survivor. I was a Division I athlete. I'm a adventure backpacker. I'm a shark diver, right? I have a master's in
Mhm.
engineering. So we're actually working on putting all that together to be like, I'm not the typical person that you would
Not
Yeah.
even
Oh, that's good.
close.
yeah.
I had no idea.
Yeah, so I try to put all that in a marketing thing because I was just talking to my leads person. And I'm like, yeah, we need more of my unique me to come out because they're getting bombarded with people all the time, and it's like we need to really be
Yeah.
like, before you say this is yet another person reaching out to you on LinkedIn, I would like to tell you why I'm different and it might be worth um, talking to. So yeah,
Because
so
you're
that's
That's
fearless.
cool.
yeah, I'm not fearless, but compared to the average person, I would just say I have a different fear boundary. I wouldn't say I'm fearless, but I have a different, like I don't
Yeah.
like adrenaline, like I don't like free fall. Like I was hiking in a cave and everyone jumped off the cliff to go in and I climbed down, right? Like I don't do that. But then right before we left, I'm like, I'll regret if I don't go. And this girl's like, you're going, aren't you? And I turned around and ran and jumped and screamed all the way down. But I'm not a free fall. It's funny. And since you're after, the near death thing, you do get a little more what the fuck. Like we literally were at my partner's cabin at hike to this lake and nobody else was around. So I just stripped down and went in and probably shocked the hell out of him because he hasn't seen, but I'm like, I almost died. If they see me naked, who the hell cares?
Yeah.
No,
Yeah.
nobody else showed up. I mean, plus, I'm a 60-year-old woman. It's not like they're gonna be like, ooh, ooh. Oh yeah. But anyway, so it's funny, but anyway, yeah, so that's my
Good.
story. And I live in Long Beach. I'm
Perfect.
usually at my desk, but I decided to sit on my couch and put my light in, so I have my little buddy here with me. Whoops, I'll show you guys. Hold on. I just goofed on that. I went
I
to
don't know
turn
where my
off.
buddy went.
Yeah, so where
I
is
have
it?
4.
Yeah.
The one that's in here with me is the stinky one. Oh, he smells like corn chips.
Oh,
Poor guy.
Yeah, I'll take it off for a second and you guys can see my, oops, I closed my video off and I got my little buddy right down here.
Here's the sweet.
oh,
Aw.
Eventually he'll be up
that's
here again. He'll be up here, but yeah. Um, but yeah,
oh,
that's my little boy, little boy.
cute.
He's cute.
And my boyfriend's out of town, so I have the run of the house. So I'm like, I'm just gonna sit on the couch without my headset
Yes.
and hang out with my buddy while we get smart.
How old is he?
He's 10. He was supposed to be a big dog
Oh,
and he ended up being a midget.
I know he's so cute.
Yep. He thinks he's a big dog. So yes.
Yeah, but he's not.
So that's
Me
me,
too.
buddy.
I think I'm a big dog, but I'm like 5'3", 95 pounds. So
Bonnie, where are you at? What state? Where do
well,
you live?
right now I am in Yakima, Washington. So I'm just in the
Okay.
middle, but just north of Oregon, in the
Okay. Yeah.
desert. Super extreme, super dusty. Come from Vancouver,
Yeah.
BC, where when I first came here, everybody thought I was from outer space because of my age and my skin was unbelievable because I've been soaking in water my entire life.
Right.
And 5 years here added 15 years to my age as far as I'm
Mhm.
concerned. So I'm getting out of here. Also just came through. The marriage was nasty, the divorce not so much. Um,
Mhm.
But anyway, just finished that up and trying to tie up loose ends. I didn't think I'd be here past the election, which is kind of
Mm,
interesting. But headed up
yeah.
to just south of the border on the Pacific side. So Birch Bay, Blaine,
Hmm.
Linden, that area. So I'm near Canada, but the houses are a
Hmm.
third of the price.
Nice. Yeah.
Yeah. So near home, but not
Very
quite all the way there, and in an artsy fartsy community near,
nice.
the Connor and different destinations for Washington for art. So
Hmm.
I am trying to figure out how to fit coaching and counseling into 12 hours a week so that the other half of the
Hmm.
week is the stuff that I can't say counseling and coaching doesn't float my boat because I am passionate about it, but I'm also really passionate about the art making. That's who I am,
Yeah.
right? Then I got traumatized, which is how I ended up being a helper.
Yeah.
Right? So, other than that, I have 4 dogs, a stinky little husky who adopted me about 3 years ago, which is weird. They don't do
Mm.
that. He just showed up, never left. Um, And yeah, looking forward to being near the ocean again and getting out of this desert. Although all my clients are up on that end. I see them
Okay.
online and they're all complaining that it's constant rain. So I'm like, oh, uh,
Yeah.
but my skin was so much better. So
That's funny. Well, I didn't share my backstory at all. I lived in Europe for 15 years as a youth pastor, and half of that was in Ireland. And my rosacea hated it with the rain and the
yeah,
wind the whole time. So I'm like, wow, I'm really happy for you that it works for your skin. I'm the
yeah,
other way.
yeah.
But yeah, so I did youth ministry for a really long time and then came back to the States and had a breakdown. It was just a lot. I was a single woman for all those years over there and came back to the States in my mid 30s and had to figure out, okay, who am I now? Um, so I lived in Austria and Ireland. So, and I wasn't just fully American anymore. So through that process and that healing, then I discovered coaching. And so that I love coaching because it's just a lot like teaching. I taught youth leaders how to work with teenagers in Europe. So it's a lot like training leaders, helping leaders, especially like doing the instructing part of it, side of it. And that's why I'm really excited to like start being a mentor coach. So I can help leaders, help coaches, be better and help their clients even more. So I do know about the brain. I do know about how it affects us all. But yeah, so that's my quick little backstory. Do you have a house up there already, Bonnie? Are you looking?
Well, it's interesting. So at some point I will tell the story because I started with $5. I have had 9 miracles, literal miracles.
Mm,
I
yeah.
have one more to go. So when I look back in hindsight, it was sort of 10 steps. And the last step, of course, is getting my client work up high enough and then moving into the house. And so I have found a place. It's the
Okay. Yeah.
last one in my price range.
Mm,
But my ex, who is buying me out of his old house, so I had bought it, he has to buy me out, is
yeah.
having a hard time. Well, he's got financing, but they asked him to fix some stuff. And I warned him. I sent him a list. I said, you should fix these things because it's not my first rodeo. The appraiser's going to
Yeah.
come. And then they did. And so now he's like, ah, my loan's late. And I have to change the floor in the bathroom. I'm like, no, you don't. Give me 20 minutes. I got this. And I did.
Yeah.
Made him mad because it showed him up. But anyway, all of that to say, very final stages. If he can get it done on time, um, for me to close. So
Yeah.
the bank's just got to do their thing. And then I will have a really nice testimony for
Yeah.
all the miracles in this. And interestingly enough, I know anecdotally now already what the lesson was, which was basically trust, right?
Hmm.
The first miracle happened and I'm like, what are the chances of that? And then the second one
Yeah.
happened. It's like, why'd you bring me this far just to drop me on my face, right? Because the 10th
Yeah.
seemed so impossible.
Hmm.
And then when 9 happened, I'm like, okay, you're not fooling around. There's no way this is coincidence. Not a
Yeah.
chance. I have done the absolute impossible. So anyway, Allison knows we have one more step, and I'll be drinking tea in my living room with my boxes and my dogs looking at the ocean. I just can't quite tell you when.
Well,
Ugh.
I'm excited for you.
You didn't tell me
That'll
your
be
new place
very
has an
free.
ocean view.
Yep. It's not, I mean, I'm not right on I'm a quarter of a mile up from the main drag that runs along the coast, which runs along the beach. So I can see the ocean. I can walk to it. I just not right quite on it.
That's amazing. I just moved from my place a block from the ocean. I was in 30 years. I feel
Ugh.
like now that I'm not there, I feel like I never walked down there enough. So definitely take
Yep.
advantage of it and walk down more.
I got to be near the ocean. I cannot handle being inland.
I'm only 3/4 of a mile inland, but Long Beach is not a pretty beach like Redondo Beach was. I moved for
Yeah.
love, not for geography. So yes.
Oh, I would have had to, he would have had to move.
Oh no, I didn't want to live in my house. I've been there 30 years.
Oh,
It's part of my retirement plan. You rent out a house a block from the beach and you have a pretty good second income.
Yeah.
true. That's my plan ultimately too.
Anyway,
When I lived by the beach in South Carolina, and he was supposed to move down, but his
Mm.
job said otherwise for a while. So yes, I
What
moved
state are you in?
inland, Pennsylvania.
Uh, sorry.
I know, pray for me on a daily basis.
Back to the coast.
Yes. So, I mean, I'll be going back a lot, but yeah,
It's
it's a
not a
big
great
change.
place to be at the moment.
No, not being a swing state, it's not.
No, no, I
But I'm
know.
not vote. I didn't get up here. I'm not. Anyways, I'm voting in South. I voted in South Carolina. So I wanted to vote with the people I knew and the taxes that are going to affect us down the road.
I don't get to vote. I'm legal.
Oh, gotcha. Yeah,
If I was illegal, I could vote, but I'm legal, so I can't vote.
legal. It's tricky, isn't it? It's so tricky.
let's just stay off that topic, please.
Yeah, I know. Yeah,
Because
I
I have a
knew. I
different,
knew.
one of the things that Bonnie and I think we respect is we look at the world differently, but I respect it, but don't want it on my coaching school calls.
No, that's very, very fair. Um, so tonight we're going to look at facilitating awarenesses and insights with our clients. So y'all have already started doing this in your coaching, but we're just going to take a deep dive into it. The thing I love about this chapter is at the end, there's like 3 pages of just really great questions that you can use to ask clients. I think it's just a great list to have around no matter how many times you've been around the block for when you have those days where your brain isn't functioning as well. Or like when I meet with a new client, sometimes I really like to have some stuff around if there's like an awkward pause in like that second or third session and they're just not like really giving it to me. So I like the questions that are at the end of this chapter 10. So have you guys downloaded 10, read through it?
Not
I
yet. No,
thought we
I'm
were
not. I'm
on
still,
8 or
yeah.
9.
Nope, I'm still catching up.
Okay, hang on a second.
Um,
I celebrating that I got my biggest deal ever in my coaching business, but I've also been working out the paperwork and everything the last week. So I thought I was going to have time on our off week to catch up, but
yeah,
I'm waiting. The contracts are signed, the POs and the invoices are being filed today. So it's a
that's
pretty
more
big
important.
deal. Yeah.
My
So
Yeah, that's awesome.
course says that 9 is the last one. So is it called something differently, or because I want to make
Well,
sure I'm
class nine is supposed to be your mentoring, but we're flip-flopping. And so we're
sometimes the
doing
chapters
chapter.
are misnamed. So the
Oh,
highest so on my in my what up
yeah,
coach or whatever this is called, the
yeah.
highest chapter I have is 9.
no, it's class 10. Go scroll down to class 10
Yeah, class 10.
and it's chapter 10. So it's undergroup mentoring 2.
Mine isn't, so like this whole time my
Yeah.
course is not matched. So
Oh
I
no.
am zigging when everybody else is zagging.
Here, I'm
So
sharing my
Hold on.
desktop right now. You don't see this
hang
down
on.
here?
Oh, I was just about to do that. Thank you.
You don't, you
Okay,
don't
so
see this?
down there. All right, hang on. Let me go back.
Well, if you've never at the very top where Allison's showing you where that is at the very top of the
So I
like home
I clicked
screen,
on this. You know,
okay.
yeah, you have to click on that
you click on your
to
course
access.
and then you scroll down and that's what 10 is, facilitating awareness and insight.
There it is, class 10.
And you have to hit start lesson to actually download.
Oh,
Yeah,
the thing is, like, I went actually ahead and tried to, but it wasn't there. So I downloaded as many as there were available
Mhm.
to download, and so this is the first time I'm seeing 10 even available. So I read the wrong chapter, but
Oh,
that's okay. I'll catch up.
Like I said, I'm behind. Well, we
yeah.
go through them pretty thoroughly in class and, you know, again, for me,
Yeah.
if you're not
Yes.
reading the book and the homework while running a coach.
Right. You'll be good to go. Yeah, you're golden. You don't need
So
to
I see.
panic.
Oh, here's your questions.
Well, we
Yes.
have a month after the class ends, but next week I think we don't have class again. No, we do, the week after, and then that's maybe my catch-up week.
So yeah, we have next week, and then we bumped the following week to the week.
No, no,
It's the
no,
end
we
of
didn't, no,
December.
the next week was, the week of the 11th was already off. Then we had the 18th, we moved the week of the 25th a week later. We moved our last class a week later.
Okay, so we have next week, and then we skip, and then we have 2 weeks in a row.
No, we have next week, we have the 4th. We have
Fourth and
the
fifth.
11th, we have the 11th off that week. Then we
Okay.
have the 18th, then
Yeah.
we have the 25th off, and then we have the 2nd for our final week.
Okay. And my other calendar, that's figured out. Okay, so I'm beginning to, as we finish the class, put together the pieces.
Figure it out.
Yeah.
Well, that's good. That's good. Okay, well, let's look at facilitating awarenesses. So when we're doing this, we're just helping our clients to have new insights when it comes to just their own thinking, their own perception of what they're going through, what they've been thinking about, what are some new thoughts they can have. And this is under core competency, creating awareness, number 6, in case you're wondering. It's pretty obvious. And like Allison, if you did coaching for ACC, I'm assuming you were around back when we had the 11 core competencies and not just the 8.
I don't remember what the different core
Okay.
competencies, it's because I didn't, yeah. So I don't
Yeah.
remember if that, you know,
Okay.
I still don't
Well, that's
understand
fine.
how the core competencies matter. I mean, I know they're in the checklist, but I think they're just kind of like intuitive part of coaching. So I guess I'm not,
Yes, they are for some people, and for some people it is brand new information. So
yeah.
just
You have to
depends
be able
on,
to measure them, right? Like they reverse
Mhm.
engineered it to find out what the components are so that they could measure, so that you could tell if a person knew them or not. That's
well, and the markers like that is how they will grade your performance evaluations that you send in, and then it is on the exam part of things from the ICF.
Yeah, and I studied all of those when I took
Yeah.
my
Oh,
ACC.
good.
And then my ACC expired, so I have to take the test again for my PCC.
Yeah, I had to do that too. I was pretty annoyed. I didn't know if I would have like renewed by a certain point. I wouldn't have had to do that. But anyways, we digress. So
Yeah. Well,
it's good you're not
I
confused.
was busy recovering from, you know, almost dying and all that. So we're doing my ACC was just not as
Oh,
oh,
important at the time.
excuses.
no,
What an
it's good that
excuse,
you were
right?
alive.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So but my PCC was a personal goal always anyway. So,
that's
and
great.
yeah.
So David Hanscom, he's got 4 awarenesses for us to think about when it comes to coaching. So first is just environmental awareness. So placing our attention, our awarenesses on our sensations, right? So that's when we're talking to a client and, they're talking about it's really hard to surrender, and asking them, what does surrender look like for you? Or how does it feel when you surrender? How does it feel when you don't surrender? Or if they're feeling kind of, helping them be grounded, right? So, like if you're doing breathing exercises with a client, put both your feet on the floor, feel your feet, feel your ankles, feel your legs, right? Like getting someone to move all the way up their body. So it's really important to help our clients attach as many emotions as they can, or not emotions, what's the word I'm looking for? Sensations. What are they called? Our five: sight, seeing, hearing, senses. Applying as many of our senses to the things that they're becoming aware of, learning, and they're tapping into for the first time. Because the more of those we can attach to something, the deeper that awareness is going to go, that learning is going to go. Then emotional awareness. That's why I was like, wait, I don't mean emotional. That's a separate thing. For us as coaches, really being aware of the emotion that our clients are displaying, and picking up on some of those nonverbal emotional cues. I think also it's helping our clients identify their emotions and being able to name those things. A lot of people can't really name their emotions very well, or describe them, or sort through them. And so helping our clients be able to do that. And I think that's one of the gifts of coaching, that you do get in therapy, and you get in coaching, you don't really get anywhere else, is where you're allowed to just sit and be in your emotion, right? Especially the ones that are hard to feel, or the ones that make you feel like this is endless, this is infinite, this is just going to go and go and go, and I'm just always going to be defined by this feeling, by this emotion. I'm never going to be anything else but this emotion. And in coaching, allowing our clients to sit in that emotion and allowing them, and then the longer that they sit in it, it dissipates, right? Just a little bit more and a little bit more, and helping them just to even catch a breath of, this is not infinite, this is finite, and it will change and it will end. So helping our clients with that. And then the emotional intelligence awareness, right, for our clients that we're learning in the class. And then hopefully, especially with certain clients, you'll be able to start teaching them some of the emotional IQ things, so that they can be using those in their own lives and as they go out into the world and are with other people. And a big one to be aware of is our judgment awarenesses. Um, and these can be our unconscious biases that we don't realize that we really have, or preconceived notions, or judgments that, again, we don't realize we really have. And so if we're not aware of them, then we might be missing really big opportunities to ask questions, because we're judging and we're not thinking outside of ourselves as we listen to our client, to be able to ask the curious questions, to get them, to be thinking around it. It'll really stop us from being able to ask those powerful questions. And then, where's the fourth one?
I think it's not bolded. Ingrained
The
thought pattern.
ingrained thoughts and patterns. Yes. Okay, it changed. I was like, that's it. Yes.
It's just not bolded.
Yeah, it's blue. So this is a little bit along the lines of like the judgment as well, so the patterns and beliefs that influence ourselves, and then also for our clients. So what are the patterns and the beliefs that we have that we need to be undoing to help our clients, and helping our clients be aware of their patterns and their beliefs, and how all of that affects every area of their life, whether they realize it or not. And if it's not affecting the areas of their life, then that's probably why they're feeling misaligned. That's probably why they're feeling like things aren't clicking, or they're not able to make some steps forward, is because a lot of times we're just not fully aware of our beliefs, or our values, right? And then we're making decisions that aren't based on our values or beliefs. So then we feel really misaligned, because we're making work decisions that don't meet our values. And so like if family's your thing and you're making work decisions that are excluding you from your family, then you're not going to feel like you're ever at one, in those
Yeah,
kinds of
so
areas.
yeah.
And so I think those are huge ways that we can help clients identify areas in their life when they feel stuck. When they say stuck, I really kind of just in my mind go, okay, I think they kind of maybe let's try misalignment. Like, let's see if there's some misalignment going on. And if not, then let's backtrack with the word stuck. And, then I like to ask what's a visual? What does it look like when you're stuck?
Can you hear me?
Can now.
Holly, can you hear
What does
me?
it feel like when you're stuck?
Callie, can you hear me?
Am
You're frozen.
I coming in?
You're frozen. Can you still hear me?
Yeah.
Heard you. We heard you okay, but your video's frozen.
I can hear Holly, but I can see Allison.
Yeah. Okay. I can. Can you guys? Can y'all hear me now?
We heard you
Yes.
fine, just you're frozen. I don't know how long you
I'll
were
turn
frozen
myself
because I was
off.
following along with the
Turn my
text.
video off.
Nope, there you are. Okay.
Let me back. This internet is not good in this house.
Sorry.
Are you hearing me?
Yeah, we hear you fine. Never didn't hear
Okay, I'm
you.
gonna call back. Oh, okay. Then I'm just gonna keep the camera off for a second then here, because who wants to stare at a frozen, weird-faced person?
Yeah, but I was one of the things I wanted to add to what you were saying was that so
Yes,
I'm tra-
please.
I'm trained by CTI, if you're familiar with them, and a big piece
Uh-huh.
of that is value. So my first session with my clients is a foundation session, and it includes not only
Hmm.
designing the alliance, but we start working on a value map. So it's not
Oh,
just
good.
so if you have a value of family, what does that mean for you? Because you and I
Hmm.
can have a matter of a value of family, and it can mean different
Hmm.
things. So my clients, we have the value map. And
Oh,
so
that's
that's
great.
something that we reference throughout the time of working together, because one of the things I teach them is that if you have something is not working for you, an interaction with somebody, it's often because you have a value mismatch.
Hmm.
And so that's a
Yes.
big piece of my coaching. And then on the judgment side, I'm a big fan of the positive intelligence work. And so, in
Hmm.
fact, I just spoke to a room full of people on it last week. And if you're not familiar with it, it's the whole concept of saboteurs, that we all have the master saboteur, which is the judge, and then the judge has 9 accomplices,
Mm.
which is the perfectionist and the controller and the avoider and the all of those things, the pleaser. And so when I understand what their primary saboteurs are, then I understand
Mm.
how they're walking into situations. So that's the value map, and the
Oh.
saboteur assessment is really a core piece of the work.
What assessment?
It's go to positiveintelligence.com.
Yeah, I have not heard of this. This sounds really great.
Yeah, I would check it out. It's really great. And unfortunately, when they fill out the assessment, they go to his mailing list, not mine,
Yeah.
but they're already my clients. So yeah, I just spoke at a women's group at a company for like 100 people Thursday on that same topic, and talked about bringing what would change if they brought empathy and curiosity
Hmm.
instead of judgment and preconceived ideas of the other person to meetings. And that
Hmm.
was really great. Facilitated some great discussions. And
You
yeah.
know what's coming up for me though is so I have a friend that's taken the same course and we were talking about the difference between coaching and therapy. And
Hmm.
she was talking about these lines that the ICF has for, well, that's coaching, that's consulting, that's therapy. And as you're talking, you called it the positive psychology, but
Positive intelligence.
yes. Yeah, sorry. But in psychology, it's internal family systems. So what I'm trying to say is that a lot of this stuff that's presented as coaching is
Hmm.
actually therapy in the therapy domain. So the two worlds, it's like they're not talking or something. And so this line between coaching and therapy to me is false. And it's
Hmm.
difficult to, because as soon as you start working with the emotions, or you've crossed into therapy, as soon as you start teaching, you've crossed into consulting. So now I don't know how to sort these
Well,
things out.
I'd say for me, I'm not trying to figure out why they have those saboteurs because that's therapy, right?
Mm-mm.
I'm
Yeah.
trying to help them identify when they show up, how to identify them, and how to get out of that saboteur mode and get to the other aspect of the brain, the sage mode, which uses a different aspect of their brain, and helping them with that transition. I'm not going through
Yeah.
the source of why they have the saboteurs. And I don't say I teach. I mean, I stay primarily in a coaching modality, but there are times like when I'm working with someone on
Mm-hmm.
communication and they don't know how to change their communication, and I can ask them 1,000 coaching questions and they can't come up with a new way of looking at it. I might say, I might give an example and then we play the example game back and forth. So I do sometimes have to break that pure coaching thing because one of the things I coach
Mm-hmm.
on is communication. But I think I'm very clear about my clients, if they are really emotional or dealing with other stuff, I'll always inquire if they have a therapist because that's not my domain. Now, granted, I'm an executive coach, so I typically don't get into that much
Mm-hmm.
with people, but I'm very clear on the boundary that as a coach, I am forward looking. It's just
Mm-hmm.
information to be aware of, but I'm not trying to and not trying to get into the what's behind it. I don't know if that's my take on it.
Yes.
To
And
me, it's
also, I
just
mean, like,
the labels. There's just
well,
so much that we do in coaching as I'm
mm-hmm.
taking the course that I do in therapy.
Mm-hmm.
And
And
it worries me because I have to be able to pass a test and not be using therapy when to me the lines are dotted. They're really porous.
well, no, I believe you can be using some therapy in your coaching if you are a therapist. I think you just need to do it like more under like asking questions around things and not like straight up diagnosing like you would with a client who is coming to you as a therapy client. The big thing is just don't do it when you're doing your performance evaluation. Okay, let's just
Yeah.
be real.
Yeah.
And the other thing is like, like Allison teaching all those women, like she is in a consultant mode when she's doing that. Or like I always say to people, like, okay, so Allison's got a lot of great stuff on communication and helping her clients improve their communication. So you have this session, and then at the end, you can always say to your client, hey, would it be okay if I give you some homework? And of course, they're going to be like, yes. And then you email them, like paperwork, articles, some of the stuff that you have on communication for them to do, read through, look over. And then in your next session, you can ask them, what did you think about it? What was something new that you learned? If they want to talk about it, great. They probably do. If they don't want to talk about it, okay, like you put it in their hands. Now, I mean, if they're literally coming to you for communication, they need to talk to you about it in the next session, or that's
A recent example, right? I have a client, a lot of women in tech who are dealing with some unfair perceptions of them. And so for
yeah.
the client said, can you just read this for me and tell me if you would have changed anything? And so
Mm.
at that moment, I'm not in ICF coaching mode, to be honest, because
Yeah.
um, I used to work at this company. I know the culture very well. And there was really a point for me to be empathetic and be like, I don't see anything wrong with this. However, it had it left if it left room for this. So if you were trying to close up all the loops in this, what would that look like? Right. So we get
Mm-hmm.
back into that coaching thing quickly, right? But she was, it wasn't the time to say, well, what do you think about it? I mean, we already did that piece.
Yeah.
We already did that. And it's like, you
Mm-hmm.
come from this industry. I just want to see, am I missing something here?
Mm-hmm.
Because why did this cause this impact? And we were able to explore that through coaching questions, but I also gave her the
Mm-hmm.
feedback. There's nothing wrong with this, but it feels incomplete. So what would,
Mm-hmm.
so again, communication is kind of like the one gray area for me where it's tough sometimes. I mean, I was with a guy who he was very blunt and direct and he was telling me about it. And I'm like, well, you were very emotional at the time. If you remove the emotion from
Mm-hmm.
this, I didn't say you were very emotional. I didn't make that judgment. I said,
Yeah.
if you remove the immediacy and the reaction, now that you're not in that moment, what would you have done differently? And it was like nothing. Well, what do you want to make the other person feel at the end of this? Do you feel we went back and back and back, and he couldn't come up with an example of how he would do it differently, even though he knows he's being kind of a bully. And so in that point, I had to give him an example. Well, this is what I would do in this situation. Okay, what's your version of that? Right. So there are times where, as much as I try to loosen the jar for them, I do have to open it on communication. That's
Yeah.
one area that can be a little nebulous for me to stay in pure, ICF mode.
And I can see that being a huge thing working in the tech industry. Like that makes a lot of sense, right? And that's why they are, coming to you is to improve their communication. So, again, I just wouldn't use one of those exact people in the moment that you're doing your performance evaluation.
No, I'm not. I'm not. Trust me.
Yeah, no, I know.
I'm
But I
not.
think that's the real life side of things, right? Like we can teach this like purist thing, but then what happens in real life? And for each of us, whatever like our thing is, our people are going to come to us with different stuff, according to our niche is what I'm talking about. And so we do have to adapt a little bit so that we can help our clients to the best of our ability in that moment, right?
So the
So that they
question,
can become.
sorry, that was say, let me add one more thing. I apologize. The question I do figure out is me, they come to me because I come from their industry, right? If me adding this information short circuits their journey, weakens them, then I don't share it.
Mhm.
If it's information that just is,
Mhm.
it's like 1 + 1 is 2, right? Then there's nothing wrong with
Yeah,
that, right? But am I doing
correct.
this? Am I bypassing their learning, or am I helping their learning with this information,
Mm.
their growth? And so that's my delineating factor is, first off, have I done everything I can in the coaching modality that I am capable of in this moment, right? To be
Yeah.
able to do that. And if we're at the stuck point, am I helping them or hurting them if I inject a suggestion here? And so
Mm.
sometimes it's just like, oh, I see what you did there. Like, like what is your takeaway from this? What did you learn from this? Right. So
Mhm.
I'm always checking in with myself. Like, am I shortcutting it? Am I shortcutting their path? And now when they run into this again, am I helping them develop the tools? Right. Or am I creating codependent people on me to make these decisions? So I'm always checking in when those situations come up.
No, and that's a great thing. Yeah. Figuring out what are the questions you ask yourself in your head before you start offering other things.
Is it in service of my client or not? Is really the biggest
Yeah.
question, right?
So some of the things, techniques that we can use, think about, consider when it comes to facilitating awarenesses and insights for our clients is one, just our active listening. So I always like to say listening between the lines, just like we read between the lines, listening between the lines. So questioning what is being said, but also forming questions around what is not being said. Questions around, if there's shifts in their voice, their energy, their body language, any of those kind of cues. And then emotional intelligence. So using our emotional intelligence and what we're learning in this class, and using that to ask more powerful, deeper questions to our clients, helping them tap in more to their own emotional intelligence, or like I said earlier, just into their emotions. And then silence. So silence, I think you guys have already seen is such a big thing as far as allowing people to process. And I think it's something we don't have in society. Well, one, we don't have silence, right? But we don't give each other the gift of silence in society. And as you've seen with clients, like when you're quiet and you allow them to think, the things that continue to flow out of their mouths, like that's when some of the biggest awarenesses flow. Um, the acceptance or hearing themselves say, what they've really been believing deep inside, but were afraid to say out loud. That's when those things really bubble to the surface. And so I think silence is a really special gift that we give our clients in our sessions because we allow them the ability to really thoroughly think through a question that we asked instead of just when you sit down with, a friend at lunch and how's it going? Great. How's that? Great. Right. And we just move on. We don't really give space. We want to be challenging with compassion, right? So just really using our empathy, um, and gently kind of nudging them, gently challenging them, encouraging them to take some of these, whether it's baby steps or leaps of faith, whatever kind of steps they're looking at, that we are right alongside them with our compassion, but yet we're also challenging them to go ahead and do that. Go ahead and take that baby step or that big jump. And then reflective feedback. So giving our observations to our clients of the growth that we're seeing in them, even if it like even just in the session by session. And then I think like, just like I like to ask my clients to do a halfway point, like check in with me. I like to check in with them and encourage them and like what I've seen, when we first came together as coach and client. These is like the overall arching thing you wanted to accomplish or work towards, and this is the progress that you've made, and this is where we have to go in our the rest of our time together, and so giving that as just encouragement and to help our clients reflect back on the journey that they've already been on, because sometimes when you're in the middle of the journey you forget what happened at the beginning or the steps you had to take to get to where they are or we are at the moment. We want to encourage exploration. So really, getting them to explore, we've been already saying, beliefs and the values and that gap between the reality and their goals, right? Like what they're setting out to do. Are they setting out to do it in a way that honors them and their values and who they are as a person? Or are they setting out to do it the way they saw someone else do it? It doesn't mean that other person is wrong. It just means that other person's another person. It's not our client. And we want to really help our clients be true and honoring to themselves as they go about accomplishing goals. And I think that's something that really does trip up people is we think, I want to accomplish this goal. Okay, well, the majority of people that I see accomplishing this goal around me, they do ABC. So I'm going to do ABC, and then it doesn't work. They don't accomplish the goal. So then they think, oh, guess I'm just not meant to accomplish it. No, like maybe you were supposed to accomplish it with M and O, right? Or X, Y, and Z, not the A, B, C. And there's no right or wrong way to get to where you want to go. It's just, well, there is, but you know what I mean? We don't need to go down that road of theology and what, but and then we always want to be promoting that our clients are doing these things on their own and their own strengths and their own power, to build on their own successes, so that when we aren't their coaches anymore, that they are able to continue to have the ability and the tools that hopefully we're giving them, that they can use them to keep moving forward and building new successes. I mean, yes, we would love them to stay clients forever, maybe some, but that's not really the end goal, right? The end goal is that we are giving them and teaching them tools to look inside themselves to help them figure out what the next best steps are.
Yeah, that's interesting. You mentioned that. I was interviewing to work for this coaching company, and they're like, well, how many of your clients are repeat clients? I said, that's the wrong question. The wrong question is how many of my clients have achieved their goals? Because
Amen, girl.
Yeah. I said, because my job is, I know you're a business and you want to say, do I have clients? Do my average clients stay 2 to 3 years? And I feel like I know some people have their coach forever. And I said, that's not my model. My model is to help them achieve the goals that's right in front of them and to create awareness and have the tools to do that. If they need me for years to come, then I have not created an autonomous thinker. And I have not.
I mean,
and so it was just a really interesting thing. They ended up hiring me. And unfortunately the company isn't that great, but yeah, it's like, it's the wrong question, because your clients, you're looking at it from a business person. I'm looking at it from a client satisfaction.
Yeah, I mean, I think the best coaches are the coaches that work themselves out of a job with each client.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, I would love it. I love it, and I have clients whose companies paid for it and, they're trying to find a way
Yeah.
personally to stay with me because the company doesn't renew typically. But yeah, it's just, so it's an interesting thing you mentioned that, but yeah, it's my job to give them the tools to, to remove the road, help them remove the roadblocks to get them to that other side of that bridge, like try to cross the bridge
Yeah.
to their goal, right? And they get
Mhm.
to do the work and they learn how to knock down the obstacle. They know now how to see them and address them and do that, right? They know how to find new perspectives now,
Yeah.
how to look on things differently. They know, they know how to trust themselves more, right? And if
Mhm.
I do that, then they shouldn't need to be with me forever, because if they're hiring me as a
Yeah.
mentor or an advisor, then like it's different. They might need me long term to help them with the strategy as the
Yeah.
company, but if they're hiring me as a coach. So yeah, I love that that was in the training, because I actually got into discussions with people about that. Like if they're,
Mhm.
if you're hiring you for a long time as a coach, you need to double
Mhm.
check if you've created a codependency.
Yeah. Very true.
Anyway, that
What
was
was
just
the
my
company?
thoughts.
May I ask?
Pardon me?
What was the company? May I ask?
Yeah, Prismatico.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I don't know them. I'm just always looking at different like coaching companies on LinkedIn, and I'm always curious to know like which ones.
Yeah, they found me. They do a lot with the
That's
startups. So
awesome.
I have 7 startups and
Uh,
six exits under my belt uh,
yeah.
in the tech industry. And then, yeah, so I'm part of companies that found me, like Sky Coaching, Collective
Yeah.
Gain, Prismatico, and Turnkey. But I'm hopefully canceling or putting all of them on hold by the end of the year, because my private business which is more lucrative, is taken off.
Yeah. Well, that's good. That's awesome.
But those are helping me. I'm taking as many clients so I can get those last hours for my PCC.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Very smart. Anything else, Bonnie, you want to add to techniques and things that you use to help clients?
No, I'm just I this whole week the theme has been this, what is coaching because the last coaching session I did with Allison, um
Hmm.
there was a lot of stuff that I'm still missing, and then I realized part of it is because I'm counseling for 4 hours right before, and then
Yeah.
dealing with snot and tears and all this stuff, and then moving
Hmm.
straight into coaching, and by the time I get to it I'm done.
Yeah.
So that's part of it. But the other part of it is I'm really struggling. So these elements in
Mhm.
this chapter
Yeah.
takes me right back to counseling school. Like it's
Hmm.
it's just not that different. And if I don't figure it out, then as far as my certification goes, I'm going to keep slipping into the ditch because
Hmm.
it's
Well,
so
I think I think one of the really big things, and Allison alluded to this earlier with the looking forward, is that therapy looks back in the past and what is something that is stopping someone from moving forward and helping them process that through, work through that, whatever tools they need, um, so that they can keep moving forward in life. And sometimes with therapy, I don't want to say it's a one and done, but they can come to you for a long time and work through past traumas and then kind of move forward. Someone who might struggle with, a lot of anxiety, um, social phobia, like things like that, like they're going to stay with you because they're going to need a lot of encouragement, but you're continually helping them in a different way move forward than a coach would, right? So ultimately, you're helping people with past problems that are hindering them from being able to move forward. And in coaching, we're like just picking up where the person's at right in that moment and helping them move forward, talking about the future. So you're talking about the past for the majority of the time in therapy, and we, the majority of the time in coaching, are talking about the future,
well,
present
maybe
and
that's
future.
where it's because as a therapist, I work future. Telling stories
Mm,
does not help people. There's a
hmm.
time and a place, but I am very much positive psych, very much. So it's possible that my counseling style is a coaching
Yeah.
style, and I didn't realize.
Hmm. Yeah.
Because most of what I do is the coaching agreement, and
Hmm.
what you want to talk about, what are your goals, what's going
Hmm.
to get in the way, where are we at on that, and scale, like all these same
Hmm.
questions are what I use all the time. So the funny thing is that when I step into the coaching role,
Hmm.
it falls apart
Mm.
because I feel like I can't
Yeah.
use what I know, yet what I know is the right stuff.
Hmm.
So there's like a disconnect there for me.
Yeah, so I think the biggest thing then for you might be go into it with a coach, the quote unquote therapist mindset that you have. Just you need to withhold diagnosing or giving more of the suggestions that you're allowed to give in
Right.
therapy. You know, here's some tools that work. Here's some things I'm going to suggest here. Instead, we're asking then when you find yourself wanting to say something like that to a client and you're in a coaching setting, saying, okay, well, what are some tools you could use? What are
Well,
some things you
what
could
if you
do?
were
And
gonna, like in NLP, we do a lot of guided meditation type
mhm,
stuff, which is used in coaching quite a lot. And so
yes.
guided meditation is somewhat, well, straight up, it's directive.
Hmm.
So we use that in therapy, we use that in counseling, or in coaching. So I'm not sure why sometimes it's allowed and sometimes it's not.
I don't know enough, like I haven't done a lot of like studying or anything of guided meditation to be able to really answer that for you.
Okay.
That would be a good Cheryl question.
Okay.
Yeah. But yeah, maybe you need to just approach it like you approach any client. You just need to be aware of different things that need to switch for you in your mindset when you're in a coaching situation or setting versus a therapy setting. If these things are really resonating with you and you're going, these are, a lot of what I'm already doing, it might free you up, free your mind. But yeah, that is a lot. I mean, just in general, to come from all the things you're coming from and then jumping into a coaching class is emotionally draining.
Yeah, it's not working. I'm so tired by the time we've had our
Mm,
break and then come back.
yeah.
This dude.
Mm,
And that's not fair to whoever I'm
mm,
coaching. And they don't, I'm there and I'm present. I just can't remember my questions. But as soon as I
mm,
get some rest, they all come back. So it's
yeah.
frustrating because I want to be there.
Hmm. Let's look at powerful questioning here at the bottom of page 2. Um, so when we're doing powerful questioning or open-ended questions, whichever you prefer to call them, those are when our questions start with what, how, when. What, how, when. You also do where, or who can go in there, but usually you're using what, how, and when. And we're not using why. There is that small time and space where a why question squeezes in and it actually works. But the majority of the time, asking a why question just sends up everybody's defenses, right? Why? Well, you're asking why because you don't understand or you don't agree with that's the vibe it gives off, right? Like I don't agree or understand with what you're telling me. So if we just take the why out and insert how, you know why did you make that decision, and we instead turn it into how did you, or what led you to make that decision, how did you come upon this decision, why did you handle it that way, how did you end up handling the situation, right? It just really changes that mood. And so that's why we don't use the word why, and we're just really, really, really ultra careful. Like you would never want to do it in a performance thing, but there are those few times where it works. And I think also that really, really, really boils down to the relationship you have with the client and what is being talked about, right, as well. So we want to be using the what, how, and when. So powerful questions, they're going to generate that curiosity we've been talking about. They're going to stimulate the reflective conversation. So how does this align with your core values? Boom. It's going to provoke thought for the clients. What perspectives have you not considered yet? Is a good one there. It surfaces any underlying assumptions that the client might have. So, I mean, you could just straight up ask, like, what assumptions are influencing your decision making? Or what assumptions might you have around this situation? Powerful questions are going to invite creativity and new possibilities, right? So the simple question, what could you achieve if there were no limitations? You know, if you could take your biggest limitation off the table, what would that be? Things like that. And they always generate energy and forward motion because we're talking about forward motion. You know, what's one step that you can take right now? What's a baby step? What would motivate you to do this? It's building that intrinsic motivation, and that's what we need our clients to have so that they can move forward and accomplish goals with us and then with themselves as time moves on.
Yeah,
It's going to
I
just
don't like that question without limitations. It's a little too like
vague.
generic. And so I think what it
Yeah.
is, what would you do if there was no fear of repercussions in the meeting or, you know, judgment
Mm,
in the meeting? What would you do? What would you know, like if they were talking about confidence, or what would you
mhm,
do if you weren't worried about how you're being valued, you know, looked at, right? Like I
mhm.
try to be, because I think the limitations, it's just kind of it's a little too woo-woo. It's a little too probably like
Yeah.
I think that I
Expected.
understand. I like the concept of what it's trying to do, but I think
Hmm.
that word itself is a little too I don't know. For me, I wanna really get into what would you do if, you know, like a lot of the women trying to get their confidence in the room. What would you do if you're
Hmm.
worried about, you know, or the other one is I, instead of limitations, I use permission. If you've given
Hmm.
yourself fully permission to, if you've given yourself permission to show up fully, what would that look like? So I
Yeah.
use, I mean, I write a lot about permission. So I love that question. I
Yeah.
think for Bonnie, there's so many different ways to address that question without using
Hmm.
that overly cliche.
Limitations.
Well, it's an overly cliche word.
Oh, it is. Yes. Hmm.
I just asked the magic wand question. Like if you could wave a magic wand and
Mm.
do whatever you could dream of. This is
Yeah.
usually how
What would?
I put it.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, for me, the what magic wand question is, if it was a year from now
Hmm.
and you had the best year and you achieved all your goals, what would that look like? You know, and get them to really, because that's kind of creating the coaching path, right? And then it's like, okay,
Yeah.
so what's between you and that dream becoming a reality? And first,
Hmm.
then it's like, then it's where the next question is, what would it mean to you if that was true? Right. And then it's like, what's getting in,
Hmm.
why haven't you figured it out yet? And then what's in the way between you figuring it out? And then the next question is,
Hmm.
do you want help with that? And that's how I enroll clients.
That's good. Mine is, what is it costing you
Yeah. Yes.
to not having achieved this or overcome these challenges? Yeah.
Yeah.
That's my money question.
Yeah, that's a great one. What is it costing you? Yeah.
Hmm.
Um, yeah. The cost is a
Yeah.
good thing because we are hedonistic by nature. We seek pleasure and avoid
Yep.
pain, and we have the stronger need to avoid pain. So I like the phrasing of that one.
Yeah.
How do you put it? What is it costing you to what?
What is it costing you? So like I first asked them like what challenges are you facing or kind of thing. So then it's asking them what is it costing you to not having had overcome these challenges, or what is it costing you to not have a um what is it costing you to not stand up for yourself in the workplace? What is it costing you to um not have a set bedtime for your children. I don't know, I'm just trying to think of like random, easy
Okay, so
things
what is it
quick.
costing you to not do or have fill in the
Hmm.
blank?
Yes, whatever they're looking to accomplish, they're probably not coming to us with it for the first time in their life. Like they've probably thought about it for a while. They've probably tried to overcome it themselves or work through it, achieve it themselves or in other ways. And now they're showing up to meet with us. And so we're like that next level, right? So asking them what has it been costing them, I think
To
really
stay
hits
the same.
home. Yeah, because they've been trying, right?
Yeah.
It's very rare that a client comes to us with like brand new ideas. I just decided yesterday I'm going to do this, so I hired a coach. If it's a previous client, that's a different story. But we want to get in there too, and with powerful questions, because it touches on that deeper meaning for people that um, makes them really, again, just take that step back and look at themselves like as an outsider looking in and thinking about their beliefs, their emotions, what's stopping them, what's getting in their way. And then it also just evokes more questions. So I think it's always, what questions does this raise for you? I think that's a great question to keep in your back pocket if you aren't coming up with like an immediate follow-up question, like what questions, or just saying, what's coming up for you right now as you talk about this? What's coming up? Um, and then powerful questions, they travel well. So like we're saying here, they just fit in so many different contexts. Um, and they evoke the insights just for immediate conversation with them. So how could you apply this to other areas of your life, right? Or where might this um, lack of belief or belief be helping or hindering you in other areas of your life, right? So just because you guys have worked through something, I think that follow up of where else might this be affecting you is really big. And I think that's why the value work is so important, because the value work just forces you to look at all the different areas of your life when you're talking about, or it should, but it does. When you're really talking about values and bringing clients' values like continually into sessions and questioning them about their values. And then powerful questions, open-ended questions, they always, um, how do I say this? They avoid, I'll just read what 11 says, it avoids leading to a preset answer, right? So it's not just the yes or the no, but it's really helping us get the client's perspective out there. So, what do you feel is the right course of action for you? What do you feel is the right decision for you? No, no, not for your mother, for you. No, no, not for your boss, for you. Um, because so many questions that we ask in life are so cliched, they're asked all the time. We have preset answers that we don't even realize that we have, that we throw out there for people. So when we're asking powerful questions and really digging in there, digging under the emotions, around the emotions, questioning the values, the beliefs, all of a sudden, they're having to find answers in a different way. Doesn't mean their answer might change, but they're finding it in a different way. And sometimes finding something in a different way is what makes it click for you. Because if you've been doing and saying something the exact same way for years and years, all of a sudden it's not working for you. Well, it might be just because you need that fresh perspective on it or a different way to go about it. And then it encourages our clients to think back on their own experiences, whether it's like currently what they're experiencing or like what, where in your life did you experience this before? So when you experience that, what were the things that you learned? How could you bring the things you learned from that past experience into this present situation. And then here, just back to visualization. So guiding our clients just through visual scenarios with open-ended questions. And I think, I don't know, I've always done visualization with clients where like I'm slowly guiding them with questions, but I'm not having them answer them in the moment. And then at the end, I like to ask them like, what stood out for you the most? What surprised you? What, whatever the thing is. So having them like go through the process, eyes closed, thinking and visualizing, and then allowing them to speak about what spoke to them the most. And then it just, powerful questions really help our clients to be mindful of being present in the moment. And then them being mindful of their own insights, emotions, what's going on for them in all their different senses, or at least one other sense than just their thought. Other thoughts or questions that come up as we go through these last few? So when I lived in Ireland, oh, go on.
I was gonna say, those are pretty standard. They're good review. It's a good review.
I'd never gone to therapy till I lived in Ireland. Just because, not that I didn't believe in it, I didn't see where I needed it in my life. Um, and when I was in Ireland, I was working with a lot of different women, and there were two in particular that I was really close to, and they went and saw the same therapist. And almost every single time I would meet with one of them or both of them, they would talk about an experience they had just had in their therapy session that week. And every time it was so moving and powerful. And I was like, I need this woman in my life. Like, I need to see Neve. Like, give me Neve's phone number. I'm going to see Neve. And the thing, and I have seen many a therapist now since Neve, but she will always like be the strongest one for me because, and I'm sure this has a name in the therapy world, and I have no idea what it is. But her main technique with the therapy was using visualization. So at the beginning, spending time where I did a lot of deep breathing, and just clearing my mind and clearing my mind. Um, and centering into myself. But it was funny because the more I like took the deep breaths and centered into myself, the more I felt like I expanded. It was so weird, in a good way. But then, she would say to me, what's coming up for you? Or if we, were continuing to talk about something from a previous session, what it all was like, what are you seeing right now? Like in this struggle, in your trying to meet everybody's expectations as a youth pastor, helping teens and leaders and people in the States, what visual is coming to mind for you? And she would have me just really visualize, like speak to her, explain to her what I was seeing. And she would ask me, like, where's the person that you go to for help? And I'd be like, oh, I see them like way, way up the beach, way, way up the beach. Oh, why are they way up the beach? Oh, well, I don't know. Well, how would it feel if you invited them to come closer to you, right? So, I mean, I did so much self growth just through really visualizing my situations and kind of stopping and looking around in my brain at where I was placing things to help myself move forward. And it was really beautiful. I tried to meet with her a few times when I moved back to the States, but it's just not the same. Like, it might be now. Back then, when I moved back to the States, we had the phone. Like, we didn't do the video calls as much as we do now. Video calls make a difference. So don't underestimate visualization with your clients.
I was a former collegiate athlete, and we did visualizations all the time. We'd have to sit there was like under the diving well, there was like this chamber room, and we'd have to lay in there and visualize our races down to the second.
Wow.
Yeah, that was pretty cool.
That is really cool. Does that kind of therapy have a name, Bonnie, that you're aware of?
It's essentially neurolinguistic programming. So every body has a language, and what happens with trauma is we lose rapport with the self. So when you teach visualization and meditation technique, and then you teach things like where is it in your body? What does it look like? How big is it? How far away is it? It's talking about
Yeah.
how your brain encodes information for you to be able to retrieve it. Because in the retrieving, you can alter it. And if you alter it, you can change a state, you can remove the emotion, you can integrate.
Yeah.
You have all kinds of options for what to do with that memory that has become a mindset that's holding you back. Because mindsets, they contain a rule usually, and those rules are kind of what, when you ask the question, what's holding you back, it's a mindset. It's a rule. You've made a never, always, ought to, shouldn't out of something that's happened,
Yeah.
right? So in therapy we
Yeah.
do the same thing, and in neurolinguistics we do a lot of that visualization, because like Allison was saying, you have to see it in order to create it. You haven't seen it. Either somebody else did it, or you have to be able to see it in your own mind. If you can't see it, then how do you create it? You don't know what,
Yeah.
right?
It was just so eye-opening for me to realize, oh, I can visualize it, and like you were saying, Bunny, recreate it, redo it, heal
Yeah.
from it.
You can pull
Yeah.
the pieces off of it because it stores like a data file. Like if you store a video on your hard drive, it'll have pictures,
Yeah.
it'll have sound, it'll have motion, and it'll have transition, right? So memory recalls the same way. So you can pull the memory forward and then take off whatever element isn't working for you and then put it back. That way your timelines and your learning is in place, but the whatever is freaking you out, you can alter. And then you can continue to have the memory. It just doesn't have the present emotional impact anymore, because you don't need that. It was
Yeah.
necessary then to keep you alive. It's not necessary. So
No. Yeah. Okay, so here's things we just want to be avoiding when we are asking powerful questions in our sessions is we don't want to be giving solution-oriented questions. We don't want to rapid fire our questions, double barrel them. The one, number 3, ramble before asking, that one I think is the hardest for newer coaches. You feel like that you have to explain your question before you ask the question and just ask the question. We don't want to use like really interpretive kind of questions that, we're not giving them some kind of, framework in it. We want to use the client's own words when we form our questions, is what I was really trying to say. We don't want to ask rhetorical questions because those, sound judgmental, sounds preachy, or that we know the answer. We don't want to ask leading questions. We don't want to be interrupting. The why question, we don't want to do that. And we don't want to disguise. We don't want to do like disguise questions. So disguise questions are usually we're wrapping a advice giving in a question form, right? Solution in a question form. So we don't want to be doing those things when we are coaching people. And then the ways that we can use our emotional intelligence to facilitate awarenesses for our clients is we can tailor the question. So based off the cues that you're getting from your client, so like the example here is if a client expresses frustration, you might ask, what about the situation is causing the most frustration for you, right? Helping them sort that out, right? Because otherwise the whole thing is frustrating when really it might just be one or two things. We want to probe below the surface. So we want to encourage our clients to dig deeper into their initial response to something. So if a client identifies a goal, we'd ask, what would achieving this goal give you that you don't currently have? What would it mean for you? How would it feel to achieve this? And then we want to challenge assumptions. So we want to use questions to challenge, like we said earlier, the client's assumptions. So what might be possible if you believed in your ability to succeed? If you told yourself you could do this and took everything off the table we were talking about before. You guys have gone through the emotional intelligence quiz, right, already, and like read through it all?
Yep.
Yeah, that was so amazing. I love that part of the course.
I still have to have my feedback session about that, but
Yeah, but just getting like all of that back and all the things and all the colors, and I'm visual, like it was really cool for me because I hadn't done it till I started working with Cheryl on starting the school and getting things together. So then, of course, I had to take the exam, and I never fully taken an emotional intelligence assessment. So I really loved it. Okay, and then here on page, was it 6 and 7? Is it 8? Go to 8, 6 and 7. We've got your list of questions and to help you that you can pull from. And they're broken up kind of into like the roadmap you might be taking a client through when you're doing a session, especially for a coach that's just learning, right? And they really need like that outline to kind of follow. This is helping with that, where I think you ladies are well versed in starting somewhere and helping a client end somewhere. Comments, thoughts?
I don't know how to memorizing these doesn't work because you need
No,
to have genuine care for your person. You need to be listening to them. You need to be responding in the actual moment. It
right.
would only work if these questions came up easily, and there's so many of them. And
Mm-hmm.
it really depends on, like, after you get your coaching contract, it really depends on what their exploration is. Sometimes
Right.
clearing, sometimes they're exploring, sometimes they're caught
Mm-hmm.
in a rut. Um,
Yeah.
Sometimes they're not aware, sometimes they're really aware, sometimes
Yeah.
like Allison, when I work with Allison, she knows she knows where to go, really.
Mm-hmm. Right.
So it's knowing, and the other is I know the questions before the session, and then as soon as
Mm-hmm.
I get in, they fall out of my head.
Right.
I'm not sure what it is that's going on there. If it was counseling, I would be fine, but as soon as you call it
Mm-hmm.
coaching, I'm like,
One of the things I did when I was first learning coaching was I love post-it notes. I'm visual. I love color. So on a big bright orange post-it note, I wrote down who, what, when, where, and how, and I stuck it to the top of my monitor so that when I would catch myself like wanting to ask a why question, or I wanted to give some advice wrapped in a question, things like that, I could quickly look at the words and try to reformulate a question before before I asked quote unquote the wrong question. I was like formulating it in a powerful way for the client. That was a big thing that helped me. And once I got those things stuck in my head, then it wasn't so much a list of questions, but just listening. And then whatever I asked, I was already naturally formulating questions at that point with those words.
Well, something that Allison said in the last few weeks too was about building a ritual around your coaching session. So you're coming in with a context, and she talked about clearing your desk and clearing her space,
Yeah.
clears her mind.
Mm-hmm.
When I go into a counseling session, I do the same steps over and over, and it keeps
Mm-hmm.
my focus. I look at what how
Yeah.
their measurements changed. I know what their symptoms are, and I have a way of working through the hour. I don't have that
Yeah.
coaching yet,
Mm.
but I'm working
Okay.
because I thought that was such a great idea.
So it should be better laid out in the very first chapter. Cheryl does have like that outline. Trying to see, I've got so much. I also am very much before each client, like take time to meditate, clear my mind. I had this friend and I hated when she said it. Well, for a lot of reasons we won't get into, but it has now become something that really works for me. And she'd always say, put it in a bubble and blow it away. Put it in a bubble and blow it away. And she would say it at the most annoying times and at the worst moments of my life when it's like, this is anyways. But it really does work for me when I'm really trying to clear my head of something before a session, because I do really visualize myself like putting it in a bubble and blowing it away.
Mm.
Um, yeah, so it's 4 pages. I'm only finding the last 3, but it has like structure. Number 3 is structuring the agreement. So getting that coaching agreement. And then 4 is the engagement and exploration. So finding out about what they want to work on. And then active listening, generating awareness, challenging and encouraging, then moving into action planning with the client, and then supporting client growth. So that's, the obstacles and building an accountability with them. And then closing the session to summarize.
So that's a cheat sheet. I mean, you're looking at page 7 of the first chapter.
That's what I was going to look. But yes, if that matches what I was just saying, then yes, that is what I'm looking at.
The coaching model, and then the setting the
Yes.
framework goes into a little more detail after that.
Yes.
Did we lose her?
No, sorry. I'm trying to pull it up myself
Ah,
because I obviously don't have the whole thing in front of me. I just wanted to see chapter 1. I need to save these better on my computer.
yeah, it's
Yes. So
1
page
to 10 are on
6,
page
you've got like,
7.
yeah. So 6 in the top of 7, it's really tightly just spelled out. And then 7, 8, 9 goes into the more breakdown with giving some questions to help guide you for the coaching framework. So I'm always looking before I meet with a client, going back and pulling up the notes from the last session, looking at what was their action plan. So that's fresh in my mind. I can ask questions about that. And then also just if there was something else bigger going on in their life, right? Like their child was getting tubes put in their ears, or, they had this big deadline at work or something like that. So then I'm like really honing back in on that client, and it's in my mind to be asking questions around those things. Because I always, like, when I first started, thought, oh, I'll remember this. You don't remember it.
Mhm.
even though you just saw them a week ago or 2 weeks ago. Does that kind of help, Bonnie? Or are you thinking more of like setting up your own like ritual
Well,
before the session?
so it's kind of funny because I got a review this last week from the contractor I
Hmm.
counsel for.
Yeah.
And all of the feedback, there was no negative feedback. It was all really positive. And one
Hmm.
of the things that they said was I keep really good notes so that in the next
Hmm.
session, I can see what we talked about and I remember all the details. The funny thing is,
Hmm.
I don't keep notes. So something about when I enter the space with them
Hmm.
brings back the whole
Hmm.
context of the last conversation.
That's cool.
And so I'm not translating that to coaching, and I'm
Hmm.
not sure why, because that would be really helpful if I could do that. Because in there
Yeah.
are all my questions that I want to ask, and
Hmm.
but it could also be that I just don't, I mean, this is totally new. So I
Hmm.
could just be frustrated because it's new.
Yeah.
But the other thing is I'm having genuine confusion because so much of what's being presented as coaching is exactly what we were taught in counseling. We're not really supposed to go back into the past and do all that stuff. We're supposed to ask about now where you're feeling that in your body now and all of the stuff and the same rapport stuff and the same just asking questions. We're not supposed to give advice. Um, so it's really not all that different.
Hmm.
So I feel like I'm doing something wrong if I do what I'm used to, because that's called counseling and I'm supposed to be coaching. And it feels like somebody just switched all the labels.
Do you think that has to do with what line of counseling you're in, or do you think that's something that's changed as far as when how people are allowed to counsel there and do therapy with others?
Well, I totally departed from what we were taught. I have my own thing.
Hmm.
um Chris Columbus never discovered America. I don't think
Nope.
I discovered these techniques. I think that or rather, I don't think I made these techniques. I don't think it's my stuff. I think
Hmm.
I found a way that worked, and it turns out it's really coachy and less therapy.
Hmm.
So
Yeah.
I hmm
Well, I
because
think you should write.
if you want to know the truth, if you get a book on dialectical behavior therapy,
Hmm.
which is asking powerful questions, you'll be hard pressed to figure out what's the difference between the ICF competencies and DBT, which is considered therapy. The questions are the same. It's
Hmm.
motivational interviewing is the other one. It is asking questions to elicit change.
Mm.
That's
Yeah.
what we're doing. And so in therapy, we do the exact same stuff.
Yeah. I think this would be a great conversation for you to have with Coach Cheryl to hammer some of that out.
Yeah, I think so.
Hey, how do we feel about a break? Let's take a break.
Yeah.
So in the
Let's go.
second part, I'm not coaching today, correct?
Correct. Bonnie is coaching you.
Oh, okay.
I
So I've,
thought it was your turn to coach me.
I don't know, maybe they switch it. Okay, so I need to come up with a topic on the break. Okay.
Or you can do it the other way if you guys want.
Yeah. No, I'll just come up with a topic on the break. Um, okay,
Okay.
so what time will we come back?
Come back at 10 till the hour.
Okay, I'm gonna go take the dog around and
Oh,
see you in 15 minutes.
wait, I'm doing this. Let's come back at a quarter till, and we have 45 minutes.
Okay, then I gotta run. I gotta take the dog out. I'll be
Okay.
back. See you in 10.
Okay.
All
Bye.
right. Bye.
Hello.
Hey, Bonnie, I think that you should just go into it like it's a therapy session. If Bonnie's okay with, or sorry, yeah, if Allison's okay with that, um, so that you can try to just do the way you already do and see if that helps you. Because I'm not performance evaluating you right now, and I'm not Coach Cheryl, as much as we love her. Um, so if you want to do that, by all means, or if you want to do whatever you've been doing, I know it's making you feel comfortable. So I want you to be able to make the best of this next 30 minutes.
Okie doke.
Okay. So you guys will have until about, I like start things on like the 5 and the zeros. I'll just say that it's like 10 till, so do you have about until 20 after um, for your session. And I'm going to leave you two lovely ladies to it. And I will see you back in a little bit.
Thank you. Hey, Allison.
Hello.
How are you doing?
I'm good. I'm very good. How are you?
I'm doing not too bad. Your puppy's all happy?
Well, he's not happy that the walk was so short. He was kind of, when I turned around, it's like he didn't really appreciate that. But yes,
Yeah,
he
I
doesn't.
know.
He
Around the
doesn't poop.
world.
He doesn't poop in the backyard, which is great. So we never have to chase it to clean it up because it's like a jungle back there. So I had to walk. I have to walk him. But yeah.
All right. So, what's foremost on your mind today?
As I mentioned last week, I got my biggest deal, um, and it's wonderful. Since I've shut down and had to restart everything, this is by far my best year. Um, this deal is all paid up front, and which is great. And I've been working really hard to be like, okay, this is going to be a test of organization for me because it's 7 people from the same company, all Indian name, all Indian. So, I'm going to have very like, similar person, keeping all that I have the tools to do that. Um, I went through this weekend, like clearing out my desk, my files, my drawers, like before this whole thing starts, because I have to do so many 360s. It's gonna be a lot at once, a lot of moving parts. And as you know, I moved in with my partner in this cramped little house. So I'm like setting myself up for success as best I can. But my concern is I have been struggling for so long. And in the past, I have sabotaged, like when I'm so close to getting everything I want, and I've gotten in my own way. Um, and I'm finally making good money again. I can finally contribute more financially to the relationship. I'm used to making good money, so this whole coaching thing has been a big, and I've been trying to find a therapist, and it's been really hard with insurance and everything. And so I want to help myself to not to be able to find way to um catch myself when I find out I'm self-sabotaging right now, and like really, and maybe I won't, maybe I'm ready, so I want to basically not get in my own way and let all this amazing stuff happen, being organized, being a powerful coach, all of this stuff, right? And continuing to grow my business successfully. And because this deal isn't enough for like a year, it's just enough for a few months of life. But so yeah, that's what I've been thinking about is I want this to be the time that I don't get in my own way.
Okay. So, you have been dreaming and have had a vision and pulled a bunch of pieces together, and it's all working. And it sounds like you're concerned that you could sabotage what you've got going somehow. Do you, what is the present reminding you of? Where are you getting this idea of sabotage?
Well, it's just been a history, whether it's been choking at big events, imposter syndrome, just not like just like a lot of internal dialogue or actions like that don't support it, right? It's like losing all the weight and then menopause hits and you put the weight back on. It's like, you get to your goal and then you go backwards. And what I can't afford to have happen emotionally or financially is to be like a one-hit wonder, right, with this company, right? Because first off, they have some people with some interpersonal skill challenges. So if they're successful, there's more business there, which is great. And I'm also marketing the business. In the past, I get a little excited about, something going and I might take my foot off the accelerator on growing the business. We're trying to start community, doing all this stuff. After these clients, there might not be nothing, they might not have any budget for me for another year, right? Or they might not be happy with the outcomes. And so I need to make sure that the two axes are, one is to be the best coach for them that I can be. And two is to not get comfortable and take my foot off the accelerator on continuing to look for new clients and grow my business.
Okay. So if you were to achieve both of those axes, what would it look like for you?
Um, I would not get over, well, first off, there's two, it would look like, well, I think I'll say it'll feel first. I will feel, I'll probably sleep better because the brain won't be like overthinking at night. I'll probably eat better and work out more because I'm in flow, right? And I'm feeling good about it. I'm not punishing myself for something. So it will look like getting up in the morning, creating the positive environment for the day, whatever that is, to do that, serving my clients, creating content, working out, making a good, I love to cook, making good meals. Probably losing weight because I'm feeling so good. I'm not stressed and anxious about the business. So my hormones will be, I eat well and I work out a lot, but the stress hormones and the menopause hormones are just not my friends right now. And so I think my body would be responding to that. So it would just be, and I would know, and I think the biggest thing, Bonnie, is that every month I will not be calculating in my brain money for this, do I pay off this, do I do this, where is this that constant dialogue about money would be muted because I've never had it before until I went on my own. I always just made stupid money. And we're about to buy a house. So I think the chaos in the brain about money would be gone too.
Okay. So if you achieve both of those goals, you would feel like things were flowing. You'd have all of your disciplines in place. And it sounds like what you're saying is it would leave you headspace so that you're not having that nagging money conversation that I'm assuming puts a damper on things for you.
Oh yeah, I mean, I've had to take away so much of my savings since I became a coach. And then when I had the year I couldn't work because of my health, you don't get money to say, sorry, you can't work this year because of your health, right? You just have, so I had to borrow to pay all my bills and then I had to rebuild my business. So it's always been robbing Peter to pay Paul mode, since I've been a coach, more recently. Um, and I think there's and I've been very good about this contract coming in. I already figured out how much to put away for taxes, how much to put towards credit card, and then a 6-month allowance so that I'll have, some money every month to, have the money to live every month. So I won't spend it all. And then, so I've already mapped it out fiscally. But it's more, it's like sometimes there's this wall. And it's like I get so far and then I hit that brick wall, and on the other side of it is everything I want, right? And so in this case, I want to make sure I don't see the wall right now. I feel like I'm moving. and I don't see the wall. I feel like I'm doing everything right. Like this weekend, like literally I cleaned out my drawers, my file. I used to have this little desk in the living room until we buy a house. Everything's cleaned out. I'm going through my closets and my drawers and literally decluttering my clothes. So in the morning, I don't have to be like, I can't figure out where my clothes are. So I'm literally setting myself up for success. I cleaned out even like the drawer I have in here, my junk drawer where my crochet and Bill's stuff is like organized now. Like I'm slowly going through and saying, I've wanted this and I'm ready for it. I just have this fear, I guess, of what if I mess this up?
You have this fear. Is it a sensation that you're feeling in your body? Tell me about this fear.
Well, as a coach, it's that question, why now? Why would now be different, right? And why would this be the time that I don't get my own way? So I think it's more of learning to let it in, letting it all in. It's just like I tell my clients that sometimes you become best friends with the struggle. You've been struggling so long, it becomes your best friend. And it's hard to break up with your best friend. And I'm living that myself right now, right? And so I think what I'm looking for is tools to the new unknown. The unknown is everything working out. The known is things not working out. And so how do I get comfortable in this new unknown of how does that start? Home is chaos right now. Last few years, it's been chaos and stress. Home could, I need to figure out how home is calm and good things happening. I found the love of my life later in life, and we're buying a house together and we're traveling the world, and my health is good now, and everybody in his family's good, and everyone in my family, mostly good, right? It's like all this good stuff. And I want to get comfortable in that. This is the first relationship. I'm not wondering if it's going to end. Like, I know he's the man I'm going to spend the rest of my life with. I've never had this feeling. I thought I had it once, but there was a caveat, this one has no caveats. So, there's all this goodness right now. And I want to make that home. The goodness needs to be home, not the fear and the chaos.
Okay. So you've brought up many different things. And a lot of it is things that you're organizing and preemptively working to make sure that you've done everything right. But there's a bit of a conflict for me as to what it is that you're seeking. Because on the one hand, you're talking about the sabotage piece, and on the other hand, you're talking about you want the money dialogue in your head muted. And you said that was the big thing. So the sabotage piece and the not being comfortable with the old is one path that we can take, and the other is this money talk in your head that followed after a whole list of things that you're doing to preempt it.
Yeah, so great. Yeah, I think for me it's more the self-sabotage, right? Because if I don't sabotage, the money's going to keep flowing, the money's organized, it's there, right? So I'm on the path, right? It's like, I don't know if you had this in your business, and is that like you start getting clients and you're like, I figured this out, and then then all of a sudden you hit a wall, and then it's like this, and I think I finally have the equation cracked, right? And with this contract, I have some time, because this will give me enough money for the next 6 months if I didn't get any other business, which I will. So I do have the luxury of time, but it's just that, how do I make sure this isn't like a one-hit wonder with this one company? Because, I'm getting like 90,000 from one company this year on top of my other business. I don't know, I can't count on that I'll get 90,000 from them next year, right? So how do I stay proactive and not get comfortable? And just, enjoy and let this win fuel forward motion versus fear.
Okay, so on, if
So
we're
I think that's,
talking, go ahead.
I think on that sabotage piece, it's like, how do I use this success to fuel continuous motion instead of it flipping on my, oh shit, you know, yeah.
So it sounds like everything is going really right.
Except
And
for,
you have a lot
except for
of
losing,
energy
except
and
for,
you're all excited and it's like, and there's this subtext of the other shoe dropping, and you alluded to some things in your past where you have a lot of successes, but there's been a lot of times where things have fallen down as well.
I think you nailed it right there, is that how do I not live in fear of the other shoe dropping and just stay forward? I think that was a great analogy. I think that's really what this boils down to, is how do I stop waiting for because I, wait for the other shoe to drop or drop it myself and just keep going forward. Just like, don't overthink this. Don't figure out, do I deserve this? Don't judge it. Just stay moving forward and not, I think in the past, I'm the one that dropped the other shoe, to be honest. And so how do I not drop the shoe on this one and just stay in flow?
Well, how do you not drop the shoe on this one, stay in flow?
Well, I've been trying to find a therapist to help me with that, and it's been very challenging. And now I'm like, well, do I get a coach? I want a therapist where I'm not in the house because I don't have a lot of privacy. As you've noticed on some of the coaching sessions, you're like, you were subdued. Yeah, I have no privacy. So I'm looking for some sort of support. I'm joining so one of the things is maybe to find a mastermind. I'm going to a women's mastermind group tomorrow morning. So I think as I'm talking to you, if I was in like an accountability mastermind, where I'm focused on the not implementing with the clients I have, but the forward-looking business. I mean, I have my coach, but I think it'd be fun to have like a community where we're all working together. And so, and I tried to create accountability masterminds before, but the other people weren't accountable. So I would probably need to find a new circle to do that in. So just having some sort of, I have that with my coach, but it's different. I really think like having a group where we say our goals and our plans for the week to execute against them. I think that there would be this accountability thing that would be like, get you to do your, like, like if you're going to be called out, you do your homework kind of thing. So as I'm talking to, I think I would really like to find an accountability mastermind or something like that, like a group where I have some sort of accountability with. Because it's like, I won't be able to get lost. Because right now, if I get lost and I stop doing the reach outs on LinkedIn, I stop doing stuff, though I have a leads person now, which is really wonderful. I get lost. And I think if I had some accountability, I've always done well with accountability. So I don't know where to find that right now, but I think that would be something to put out and try to find. And I don't necessarily want it with just coaches. I'd like to find it with people with different businesses where we can, cross-pollinate. So I think that would be interesting for me as I'm talking to you and processing things.
Okay. You've listed a lot of things that you're doing to ensure flow, and it's continuing to branch out. What's one thing that you could leave the session with today that will help you stay in that flow and avoid the sabotage that you claim that you've encountered in the past?
Um, well, I think there's two parts to it. The first part is to finish what I started and clean the environment up, creating the environment, doing all of that. And the second would be to find some form of support and accountability on an ongoing basis.
So those are the things that you feel would help you keep in flow.
The first one is to remove the clutter and the noise. Like I don't have to wake up in the morning and feel like I'm jammed in this house, and I'm creating an environment that will provide me, and like going, the most success, right? Including like setting everything up ahead of time, a folder for each client, all that stuff before I even start, right? And the second piece is, outside, having some sort of accountability, a group. Um, that would be a weekly or bi-weekly group, finding something like that, or a therapist, or finding some sort of support. And so my action would be to explore looking for like a mastermind group.
And so for our session today, how can I serve you in working through some of um, this myriad of things that you've brought to the table, that you are bringing to this problem? It's almost like a machine gun. There's so many things that you've got on the go, like a Fort Knox, or you've brought the entire army. These are things I'm picturing as you're describing all the many things that you're doing to maintain your flow this time.
It does, to me, it doesn't feel that big. I think it feels like it's create the environment, create the support. So, those are that's the two things, is that, you've done this before, and and so if I think I'm on the one path. One is creating the environment, but it's really creating that support where, um, so that as these clients, end, I don't have this glut of no income and feel like, here we go again, right? I got to take more money out of reach out to my financial planner and say, um, and so I think accountability, support is going to be the piece that was missing. I think I knew what I had to do around the house before this call, but I really don't think I didn't really throw out that accountability mastermind wasn't even in my head at that point till we got through this. So I think that was, because I think what sparked it was when you said, drop the other shoe dropping. It's like, yeah, but I'm the one dropping it. So who's going to hold my hand up so I don't drop it? Who's going to stop me from dropping it if I can't stop myself? And that's accountability.
Right. So who is going to stop you from doing it if you can't stop yourself?
Well, that's what I said. I don't have a finite answer, but I feel like I have a mission now to look for that. I didn't know what I was looking for before,
Okay.
right? And so I thought it was therapy, but I don't think it's therapy. I really think it's an accountability group. So I think that's the big takeaway for me right now, is that, it really is two axes, right? Creating the environment and creating support. And I don't think, though it seemed like a lot, I really think it boiled down to two things.
Okay, so what the two axes, the one that seemed like a big long list of things, is really one category, if I'm understanding you correct. It's just creating the environment, simplifying,
Yeah.
setting yourself up for success. And then something new, it sounds like that you want to implement this time, would be the accountability piece.
Yeah, and to be honest with people, and just, to be around people where I could say, in the past, I get a big deal, I take my foot off the accelerator, or I had the promise of a deal. And so I'm looking for a group to help me, like, I want to pretend almost like the income isn't there from this, and be, and be going, right? And making sure, because I can live off of that, but I can't live the life I want off of that, if that makes sense.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So as you're listing out all of these sort of sub fears, this fear of dropping the other shoe, the fear of taking your foot off the accelerator,
Well, they're all
the
the same. They're just different descriptions of the same thing, which is really not continuing to, um, move forward in my business and get comfortable, just not, um, it's like the devil has a lot of names, right? It's just the same name of the of the devil. It's just the devil, same devil, right? The devil is the sabotage. It's just I'm giving it all these identifying features, but it really is this, um, the accountability will also be a place when I say, I've been in struggle so much, so long. I don't know what I don't know how to be embracing the flow. And I think if I'm with other people and that we're being real and vulnerable and we're saying, it's scary doing your own thing, I think it will make it easier to be able to, for me to be able to say that to people is like my biggest fear is that I'm a one-hit wonder now and this one big deal. And I need, I have all these ideas and how to like streamline my messaging, make sure I'm doing stuff, all the things I want to do. Um, and I think it's different than a coach. I think it would be really neat to be with a bunch of powerful men and women who are driven and want to build this. And I think creating community might really be the thing I'm missing.
Well, on the one hand, you're talking about all of these benefits to your world and staying in the flow. You're seeing lots of future benefit to this working out. You've made it really clear about the benefits and what's important to you this time, not being a one-hit wonder. You've also talked about the fear on the other end of it. So if fear and the excitement about the future were on a seesaw, which one is up in the air? And which one is heavier, the fear or the excitement about the future?
Hmm. I mean, they're both true. Um, I think that if I took the fear off, as I think about the excitement for the future, the opposing forces that I'm excited about the future, but it's really uncomfortable because I haven't tried on success as a solopreneur before. So I don't, it's just really, it's a really uncomfortable feeling. And so the fear is, um, I'd say the teeter-totter goes up and down. I do think it does. I think it is really going up and down. I'm excited, but do I deserve it? I'm scared of it. Can this happen? But I'm excited because look what's happening and you're getting out there and you're doing this stuff. So I think I don't think it's a fixed. I think they're both kids that are pushing up. I want to go up. I want to go up. I want to go up.
So resource thinking is absent fear. So if we talked about how to get that fear down on the scale a little bit to leave your mind freed up for thinking, is that a goal that you would get on board for?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's part of it. And I think the accountability is to kind of not be scared alone.
So the center of the question then is around this fear and how uncomfortable it feels, not just fear of failure, but fear of success,
Oh,
fear
yeah,
of
much more fear
unknown,
of success. Yeah. Yep. Yep.
but fear nonetheless. Okay, so on a scale of 1 to 10, when the fear's up, what number is it sitting at that it's uncomfortable for you?
Mm. Right now, this deal's triggering me a lot too because it's my first big corporate gig. So I'm making it mean, sometimes I make it mean too much. So the fear of not doing a good job for them is about a 7 or 8 at times.
At times. Okay.
And I haven't met the 5 other clients. They've been assigned to me, which is weird for me, right? Too. So the other ones I met before we agreed to work together. So I got 5 blind clients that I've not met. And so, so there's that fear. And then the fear of the business side, fear. The fear on that side is not figuring it out, right? So again, it's like, it's the execute, so it's not as big right now because I have this big win under me. So yeah, I don't know. I know
So
I
you have lots,
bounced.
lots of offsetting,
Yeah,
lots,
what's
it's
going on?
actually
There's a lot going.
almost fairly volatile right now, the way that you're describing it. There's lots of really strong, like when you talk about the fear, it's up at a 7. That's really significant.
That's
actually.
on the implementation and being a good success here. On the other side, um, there's a fear of getting overwhelmed, and that's why staying organized is really key. That's why I can like get the house, everything, because having, I'll have like 10 active clients, but I need 5 more, to fill my practice. And I'm starting to tell these companies that give me leads no more because their prices are much lower than what I'm getting. And so, I'm moving into this place that I've wanted. My goal was by the end of the year to tell these referral companies no, because they charge about a quarter to eighth of what I get from my clients directly. So I'm getting there. I'm getting that goal, I'm doing it. And it scares the living shit out of me at the same time.
Yeah, new things are, they do scare the shit out of you. They do feel strange and foreign.
Yeah, I mean, telling these companies no more referrals means I am really on my own, right? Whether it was a grand or 2 grand from them every month was always dependable. And I'm like, I can't take these little clients and go find more, 5-figure clients. So yeah, it's crazy. But
Well,
I feel like, for me, I feel like the big aha has really been I don't want to be scared alone. It's okay to be scared. It's nothing wrong with being scared as an entrepreneur and worry and to have that, but being scared alone is harder. I mean, I have a wonderful partner, but he's not an entrepreneur. You need people who understand what it's like to build your own business. And I thought it was therapy I needed, which is always great. And if I'm still going to try to find a therapist because it's it's good. But accountability group would be really interesting.
so as you're speaking about all these different sources of fear and these sort of counteracting forces between success and failure, a theme that I was recognizing was of the unknown and a sort of a implicit being alone. So your statement about, I think the difference this time is the accountability piece. I don't want to be in it alone. So if you picture whether it's going through some therapy or it's finding a group of people so that you don't have to be alone, how does that impact your 7+ number on the fear scale?
Can you say that again?
If you found these resources, whether it's a therapist or a group, so that you're not in it alone, how does that impact your level of fear?
Well, I think it goes down because I mean, I think, and as a therapist and I know as a coach, is that you often feel like you're the only one in the world feeling this. And when you realize that it's similar for other people, then it's like, okay, so we're all trying to figure this out. It's okay that I don't have it figured out. It's okay that it's sometimes 1 step forward, 2 steps back. It's like, but we're dancing together, we're helping each other, we're pushing each other forward. And so I think that if I was with the right people, um, and I think that's the caveat. If I'm with the right people, I think the fear would go down dramatically. Like, I don't think with people who are just starting their business would be the right fit for me. I think people who are further along their journey, right, that have a sense of who they are and what they want and are at that growth curve like I am, right? Versus um, versus someone just getting started. So I think it's if I found the right people, where I'm not the wise old owl in a lot of events I go to and everyone wants to pick my brain, but there's nothing coming to me. If I can find the right people, I think that it would be magical.
When you speak of the same problems when you're thinking about being within that group, compared to earlier before you started talking about finding that group, um, the talk was much more negative towards yourself. So there was an energy shift before you thought about getting the group. And then as you describe it again, much more forgiving, much less fearful, it seems to me, much calmer. How are you feeling
Yeah.
between the beginning to now?
Yeah, and I think that's a great observation. I think that, the challenge is finding the group, but I think I have clarity on, what that looks like. And so I can describe it to people now. I can go to my network and say, I'm looking for accountability group for entrepreneurs who have been doing this for a while, who are at the growth curve, not the initial client curve, right? And are how to expand, not start, start. And so I feel like, clarity is always, when you have clarity, it always reduces fear and anxiety, right? So I think, that clarity is helpful. And I feel like I am definitely optimistic that there's a path forward.
So what I'm hearing now that I wasn't hearing it in the beginning is a real clarity around describing where you're at on that growth curve and recognizing that you're quite far along on that growth curve, which means there had to have been quite a lot of success to get there because you don't get here without a lot of success. So if your goal now is to go embark on finding this group, what have you got in place that can support you in that smaller goal and ensuring that you get there so that you can stay in the flow?
Um, I have a call with my coach next week and we know we're phasing out, and I think it would be to her and saying, I can actually just send her a message right now too on WhatsApp and just say, I think I want to find a local accountability, in-person accountability group. So that's one. And the two is to bring it up tomorrow at this business owners meeting I'm going to, and maybe the magic is, maybe that's already there.
That may be. Okay. So as we're kind of getting near the end now, what are your takeaways from this session?
Um, I think that what is that I really, I think the biggest takeaway is that if I had camaraderie and accountability and like-mindedness, that even though I have the fear, I'll be supported and we'll carry each other forward. And I think, um, though I still have to be comfortable with the feeling of success, I won't be navigating it alone.
Okay. And how does that feel for you at this point in the session?
Good. Good. I had no idea where it was gonna go when I brought this up, but on the walk, I'm like, this is the most pressing thing in my brain right now.
Okay. Is there anything else that you'd like to clear off before we close up then?
No, I think we're good for it now.
Okay. Well, thank you very much, and I look forward to hearing how this real story goes.
Thank you.
See if I can leave my camera on. So
So
Bonnie,
can I say something before you jump in?
yeah.
Bonnie, the evolution of where you've come since our first call to now is amazing. That was a
Thank
great
you.
call. I mean, I don't know I won't give the technical details and all that of the things, but I would just say from our first coaching session to now, it's just should be really proud of yourself. And so I
Thank
just
you.
want to share that with you.
Thank you.
Sorry, Holly, I
Yeah,
didn't
and
hijack you, but
no, you're fine because I mean I haven't heard you coach. I don't know your stuff, but how did it feel for you tonight? Were you able to tell me what was going on in your mind as you were coaching tonight?
Um, I kind of just ditched the labels and just did what I
Mm-hmm.
do. There were
Great.
some places where I could have gone, like when she started talking about the fear and the sabotage and those other,
Mm-hmm.
there's all kinds of tools and things that I have
Yeah.
at my disposal. It feels
Yeah.
really hard to leave those there, but
Mm-hmm.
I stayed away from the tools. I mean, really, that's what I do kind of all day long. And it's a lot easier for me to concentrate on what she's saying and be present if I'm not trying
Mm-hmm.
to think about all the competencies and all that other stuff.
Yeah. And that's where, you have these tools and you could say to client Allison, you know, hey, hey, I have some tools on self-sabotage. Would it be okay if I sent them your way? And then you send them her way,
Mm,
kind of thing. That's how you could still work that in the coaching, in 100% pure coaching setting. Yeah.
mm,
Well, that's great. I'm glad you were able to kind of let go of some of it and really enter in. So
mm.
how did that make you feel?
I have to now think about what I'm feeling. Um, I guess a little more hopeful. Um, I've been in this place before where I'm starting something new and it feels like I'll never get there. This
Mhm.
whole last year was that, I'm theoretically, I mean, my ex-husband is supposed to be here finishing stairs to get his loan right now, and he's not.
Mhm.
He tends to screw things up. But
Mhm.
I started that journey with $5, and if he would finish those back stairs, I'll be moving into a house soon. And so if I can get there,
Yeah.
I can get anywhere. So coaching is new to me, and
Hmm.
anything that's new is uncomfortable.
Yeah.
So for me, it's a lot of just waiting out the discomfort. If I'm painting a painting and I'm partway
Hmm.
through, it's not what I want it to be yet, and it feels really uncomfortable.
Yeah.
If I stop at the discomfort, I never get
Hmm.
to the end.
Yeah.
So for me, the to become a good coach is really high on my priority list. Is the same kind of thing that Allison was saying. Like it means a lot. I want to be genuinely good at what I do, because if I am, then the money monster
Hmm.
doesn't crumble in my head.
Yeah.
You're giving actual value. The easiest way to get money is
Yeah.
to give value,
Yeah.
right? So it's very important to me, but also um taking the labels off was helpful.
Good.
Yeah, coaching is
Good.
just a little bit tighter rein
Yes.
than
That's a good
therapy.
way to say it. Yeah.
It's just a little bit tighter rein. A lot of the stuff overlaps, but you can only go so far. And the reason is safety. It's keeping other people safe,
Hmm.
right? Because if
Yes.
they venture out into that, you get like a Sons of Shiva situation where people come in, they think they're all expert, open a can of worms, and then
Right.
harm somebody. Right? So
Yes.
I sort of
Exactly.
get that. I do get it, but
Hmm.
I found it easier to um just care about her and not think about, because she was very resistant on, on giving me the contract I wanted and the measurements
Yes.
I wanted, and how do we know we're going to get there? And I did not want to go
Hmm.
there. And so I gave her 2 shots, and then that's it. Now I'm coaching the person, right?
Yeah.
That's it. I try once, that try second time, that's not where they want to go. The whole thing is this is their deal. So that's where we went. And it's
Yeah.
more important to me that Allison come away with something than I come away with a tick box on all 8 competencies. So
Yes.
And it's funny because that's what I
Exactly.
said with coaching you last time too, right? I threw away the script and yeah.
yeah.
I thought we had a contract. I think, I don't know if, I guess for me, what I felt like was at some point, I will say the one thing was I thought I didn't think it was that complex. And I thought, like, I thought I was giving you the topic and then you kept digging, which I
Hmm.
appreciated. But um, like there were times you asked questions that I didn't, I will say a couple of them I was surprised, like, why is she trying to open this or go down this path? Why aren't we going deeper on the path we're on? So I felt like you threw some tangents at me a couple
Mhm.
times in there. That maybe you had an agenda. I felt like sometimes you may have had a little bit of an agenda of the conversation instead of just being where I was sometimes, a couple times. So just observation on a couple of the questions. It was just like, I don't know where that's going because it's going somewhere else. And well, it's good to challenge me to think something else, but I felt like it was just adding more chaos to the conversation in a couple spots.
Because it felt like chaos to me.
But that's okay to say. This feels like chaos to me.
Yeah, it was.
What
There's
is it?
so many strategies in place.
Mhm.
And what I was wanting to get to is like, what is driving? Is it the desire for the future or the fear of the past?
Mhm.
Yeah, no, I thought it was great, but you're like, you can just say, I'm feeling chaos right now and all these tangents, right? It's okay to say, it's just, um, and I've lost, the one thing we want to get from this today. So what is that, with all these tangents, what is that one thing that you want to walk away with today? So just call out name the chaos.
Hmm.
I thought I thought you did really good by continually kind of going back to get the clarity for both of your sakes of what was the agreement, and where was this headed. So I think it was good that, yes, you can call out the chaos, but also you can, keep asking. And sometimes it's the second and third ask where it clicks for the person, right? Or they realize, like, oh, maybe you know what I mean? So it just depends. Every session is so different, right? Right away, like, you kicked it off with, where are you getting the idea of the self sabotage? And that's actually, active listening, right? Because you picked up really fast on the word self sabotage. Good job at being a therapist to picking it up. But I love that you got it right. And of course, like for Allison, it was like, well, it's because, right? And it was so logical, but maybe it wouldn't have been, right? Or maybe there was something deeper there. And so I think it was great that you got right in there, picked up that word, and got some more clarity around it, and had Allison, speak it out loud. So we're on that same page when you move forward. Um, when she was talking about fear, and you were just asking, tell me about the fear. Tell me about this fear. Um, and that is just really like staying present and not missing the fact that she was talking about fear, right? Which obviously, like, all of you ladies pretty much have these, core competencies down. It's just spelling them out the way the ICF wants them to, right? Um, because the majority of first time coaches, right, like, they're afraid of the word fear because they don't know how to, like, handle someone's fear and ask questions around it. And so you were just, right there. um and I think this was the second time when you asked, what are you actually seeking? Like, what are you seeking in this session? And that's when we got this response. And I don't usually write down the client's responses because it's hard enough to keep up with the coach's questions and, like, follow. um, she said success to fuel this motion forward. And so success to fuel the motion forward and not have the, oh shit.
Mhm.
And she said, then, so how do I not live in fear of that other shoe dropping? Which then led to, like, a really good talk about, okay, how do you not allow that other shoe to drop? And again, that was just listening and picking up on those visuals, those metaphors that she was using, and giving them back to her to 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 go deeper on them, like to express them more. So I thought that was really good.
Yeah, I thought the other shoe dropped.
Um,
I have to go. I mean, we're over, so I do
oh
have to
yeah,
go.
we are. Sorry,
Yeah.
we are good. But I think I haven't heard you, Bonnie, so I think it was really good, and I'm glad that you let loose. And I'll be with you guys next week as well. So if that helps you with me to just kind of, right, like, we got to figure this out for Bonnie, not for Allison. We're going to figure out Allison. We got to figure this out for Bonnie, right? Because how Allison coaches should 100% look different than the way that Bonnie coaches, and vice versa, because we're all different people. So I want you to find that coach inside of you that meets and ticks all your boxes so that you can really truly help your clients. Yeah. So thank you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you for your vulnerability, Allison.
Thank you. And
Mhm.
great job, Bonnie. So really
Yeah.
great job. I gotta run.
That's awesome.
I will
Okay.
see you guys on
Yes.
Wednesday.
I will see you guys next Monday.
Okay, I'll see you
Okay.
Wednesday, see you next Wednesday, and I'm glad things are going better, Bonnie, and are drama free right now for you.
What happens on Wednesday? That's the next class, right?
Yeah. So I said, I'll see you on Wednesday,
Mentoring
and I'll see
Oh,
Holly Monday.
Cheryl.
okay.
You have Cheryl on Wednesday.
Yeah,
Okie
Yeah.
doke.
okay,
Okay.
bye.
Thank
Bye.
you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.